I am here.
Okay, so I'm just going to do a sound check, make sure everybody can hear you. It's not too loud or too quiet.
Sounds good. Sounds good.
Do a quick introduction of who we have here in front of you. It's our 3rd through 8th grade teachers, Title I, and ELL staff. So
okay, great.
So we have about, I'd say about 16 people, 15 people here. So that will be your audience for the next 90 minutes. And as we discuss, you're recording this, so at any point in time that we may need to go back and review, we'll have a recording of it. So thank you for doing that. Appreciate it.
Okay, so one thing I do need is if you could pass around a sign-in list with the teacher's name and grade level or position, and then scan that to me later, or they can be typed into the chat box of the meeting, either way, so that I have a record of who's there so that I can validate the professional development, okay?
Sounds great. Where do I see the chat box?
It should be on your box there, and it should be under where you can type in, it says type a message here.
Yeah, we got it.
Okay, so if they can type it in there with name and grade or position, I can copy it right out of there and paste it into a Word document, and then at the end of the session we'll have a short survey where they can put their information in either today or later to tomorrow or whatever, and they can do the survey, and then with that they put in their information and we'll get a certificate.
Good. We need certificates.
I understand. As I told Scott, I'm in the East Valley in Phoenix, and I've been an educator for about 20 years. My background is primarily alternative secondary, about 14 or 15 district, about 3 or 4 charter, a couple is a private virtual, and open to charter virtual and a charter school in Tempe. And so kind of have my hands in just about everything, and basically more attracted to the non-traditional models, very similar to, I'm sure, what might have attracted many of you to education and being able to implement new ideas and things. And I think that's a big part of what Study Island is. Again, I live in the East Valley, but I'm originally from Illinois, and I've been in Arizona 25 years or so. And like Study Island, I would not back a product that I didn't believe in. I think this thing works, and I like the user-friendliness of it. And so let's get into it. Tell me a little bit about the experience in the room. How long have you guys had Study Island?
About 3 months.
3 months.
2 months.
2 months. And so is that pretty much the length of experience for most people?
Yes.
Okay, great.
Right?
That gives me a great barometer then. Where we can go then. So we're going to try to really run through this. And now tell me the setup. Are you logged into Study Island, or are you just watching me?
Some are logged in and some are watching, or they're watching you on your computer.
And it's your choice. I did send Scott a large number of pre-session documents ahead, which aren't really, they aren't really designed to add to what I'm doing. It's just really to reinforce what I'm doing. So all those documents are nothing more than follow-up documents, so you don't have to remember everything I'm saying today, okay? All right, this is my, yes?
Sorry, so you know where we're at. We've completed our ELA and math benchmark for this, and so our real goal hopefully is to set up our classes and assign lessons to the kids.
And that's where we're great, because that's exactly what we're going to get into today. We're going to real quickly. This is my group. Our daughters have left the roost, so this is kind of the group that we live with. And my wife actually works for Edmentum's private virtual high school as a science and math department chair. And this is where we're going today. We're going to talk about the teacher experience, the student experience, the content that you have available, creating courses, assignments, how to create custom material, how to manage the students, things like learning difficulties, things like that, how to modify, how to get support if you need it, and how to use the test builder. And then as we go through, if things come up, I'm very open to dialogue, and we can work together on that as we go through it. I can hear everybody. It sounds pretty clear. You can either pass it on to Scott if you have a question, or try it, and I think I can pretty much hear. But let's get going here. So this is kind of where we want to go. Basically, a reinforcement. These are our goals. The biggest thing I really want to get into is the diversity of the program being individualized based on the assessments, or as you said, the benchmarking. So kind of tell me about your technology setup. Do the kids have quite a bit of access at school and out of school?
All the kids here, we have laptop labs and computer labs, but we do not have, and about half our population does not have internet at home.
Okay.
But many of those parents that say they don't have internet at home, they have smartphones, and I've seen a couple of them with iPads, so I know that they can get to it if they go somewhere.
Right.
So we are expecting that kids will use this at home. We've
okay.
already had parents asking.
Okay. That's excellent. So that gives me an idea. As you know, no matter where you are, you have pockets of accessibility. I have learned over the years with all the different programs and types of blended and online programs I've created that it really comes down to access, opportunity, and support. You can have the greatest teachers in the world. If they can't get on it, you can have the greatest technology and content in the world, and if they can't get on it, it doesn't help a lot. And so having that access, the opportunity to get on, because I have seen schools where they have tons of computers and technology, but the students can't ever get on the hardware and things like that. So I've worked with incarcerated kids at Lower Buckeye Jail here in Phoenix, and I've proven through that by supporting them, giving them access and an opportunity, they have a majority of the majority will be successful. So some will then have the opportunity to use it as homework or be assigned homework, a remediation. Will your students be using the program more as content area teachers? So like, will you be using it more integrated into the classroom or taking them to a lab?
Taking them to a lab.
Okay. And so
there will be other times where teachers have 4 or 5 computers in their rooms.
Okay. Okay.
So a student can get on their account.
Okay. Yeah, and I've worked in both approaches. So my last 3 years was a total blended alternative program in the Higley School District. So I know exactly where you're at with that. And then the nice thing about Study Island, all the content that's available to you is also available to the student unless you restrict the student from use of the content. So that's student-led, where they can go into the content and do exercises or do assignments on their own. On the other hand, the teacher-led approach, which is what I'm hearing from Scott, we want to create classes, we want to create assignments to lead instruction. So that's what I'm hearing, and that's what we're going to do today. And the desired outcomes were clear. He was very clear about that. And I think as a team, we can kind of talk about how we might be able to get to that goal. So these are the different attitudes that I've seen and I even had over the years with, new stuff as we move into a new school year. And sometimes if I have everybody logged into the meeting, I'll do a poll here. But I think we all understand the different attitudes and feelings about new stuff when it comes to education and the next great savior, I guess. I've been through accelerated reader, accelerated math, and many different types of content, so I understand that approach. So Study Island's an assessment, instruction, and practice and reporting program, and students work through the program with responses, and they have many different ways to respond to the questions based on the assignments given to them, and we'll go through those. And then as they go through, they can also have the opportunity to play games while they're doing their assignments. And the games are again, they can only play the game if they get the question right the first time. And the nice thing about the games too, which I've tested many of them, and I really recommend you going in, and I'm going to show you how to go in and look at all that if you haven't found it. go in and test the games and see which ones are good, which ones maybe aren't as age appropriate. They are divided into beginner and advanced and all that. But the idea is that even when they do score high enough to get to the game, they get the question right, the game only lasts, the average I've seen is 1 minute to 2 minutes, and then it pushes them back to the next question or the end of the assessment. And then the whole point of all this is to collect data. I'm sorry, to get blue ribbons. The first thing for the child is to get blue ribbons and collect blue ribbons for the school, and then compete across the state with other programs that have Study Island or within the school itself. And then really the bottom line for you and the administration is to collect the data and as quickly and have it make sense, as much sense as possible, so that you can then guide that instruction. These are all the different services that Edmentum gets into, just to kind of give you a quick overview of their different areas. They do everything from what we're talking about now, the Study Island, and then they have Plato courseware, which is an online content, Education City, the Academy, which is a private virtual high school, national private virtual high school. I actually teach part-time for them too in career tech ed, business and marketing. You've got a reading suite that's very good. You've got assessment packs, and they even get into college and career readiness and higher ed for your high school students and beyond. So again, the foundation to Study Island is assessment, instruction, practice, and reporting. And really, these tools together is what is going to work together to accomplish the goals you have for your school and your students, and obviously meet that accountability you're trying to hit, such as like everybody else is right now, especially as we go through these changes we're going through. Consistent changes, I guess, is a good way to put it, because it is consistently changing. This is the login screen, and what I'm going to do now is I'm going in to Mr. Keller's admin page is where I'm going. And so now you should see the admin page. And I want to do a brief overview of admin. One of the things I do like about this program, it is not admin heavy. It is very admin light. And so the ability to manage at the admin level is minimal. It's just that, so I'm going to go through it real quickly. This is a teacher-led program. It's a heavy on the teacher side, heavy on the student, and RTI, and making those adjustments for those individual students as they need them. The admin manages the users. Now, you said you're grade 3 and up. Is that correct?
3 to 8.
Okay. So one of the things you wouldn't use is this easy login. And that easy login is primarily for K1. Okay. And that's just where you can build a group, and then the student logs in to it based on a group and their name, rather than having to remember a password and a login. So
just for the record, if I could just interrupt for 1 second. For the record, we didn't know that Study Island addressed K2.
It does.
So I'll be following up with you.
Okay.
We were told it wasn't. Okay, so let's move on, because we're in 3rd through 8th, but now that I know this, I'm going to know.
Okay, so I can speak then. So then basically I'll speak across grades then, okay? No.
Sure.
Yeah, so in that case then, the easy login setup is specific to K1, and again, it allows you to add groups, turn it on and off for an individual student, and it makes the login process easier for the student, for that K1 student. Understanding, though, that the K1 is driven by the grade level that you assign to the student. So let's say you had a student you wanted to use this, maybe that was in a higher grade, but they needed that kind of a modification. To get that modification, all you would have to do is change them into a lower grade level in this program, and then that would give you access to that easy login setup. So everything in Study Island is driven by grade level. The other thing that both teachers and administrator can do is manage difficulty for the student. And if I go in here, I'm just going to pick a mastery area, and I'm just going to pick all the students in grade 3, and I'm going to click next, and here's all your students popping up. Now I can go in, adjust difficulty based on a class, a student, or a subject area. So I could do math and Andrea, and then adjust difficulty for that particular student or class. So let's say you had an inclusion or resource group or whatever, you have the ability to go in quickly and make an adjustment for those particular students, depending up for a kid that can really work higher, or a student maybe that needs to go down a little bit.
David?
Yes?
Hello?
Hello?
Hello, how did you get to that page where you're at right now?
Okay, I'll go back there. Now, again, remember, I'm in the admin page right now. I'll show you how to get to it from the teacher page, okay? Okay. Right, and I'll show you from the teacher page too. In fact, I'll show you real quick. I'm on teacher right there. Okay? So everything's right on the teacher dashboard. The other thing you can do with student difficulty is you can restrict access. So you might say, I've got 7th grade math, and I don't want them taking part. I don't want them working at home, whatever, for whatever reason. I can go in and now restrict access for, again, a class, a student, a grade.
So Dave, that's only an admin function to restrict it because the teacher.
Nope, that can be done at, again, everything in this area can be done at the teacher level as well.
So they're getting a message that says your school is setting to block teachers at West Sedona Elementary from adjusting student difficulty.
Right, so if I go to teacher and I go to adjust student difficulty, they have the same option right here.
It's blocked.
It's getting a block message.
Oh, okay, I'll show you why it's blocked, okay? We're going to go there next. I'll show you why it's blocked. It's called school preferences. So at your level, Scott, school preferences are clicked that they can't do anything with that. See it? So if I click that, now try it.
They're still blocked.
Well, they might have to log in. But what I'm getting, yeah, they may even have to log in again to get it. But what I'm getting at is because this was no, it does not allow them to do that.
Okay.
So that's it. So now I've changed it to yes, and they should be able to adjust student difficulty now. So that's all it was, is that this preference button was clicked to no, blocking them out.
It works.
All right, there you go. That's simple. See, I like that kind of training when it works that way. The last thing is modify practice session. Again, this is available to the teacher. This is where you can turn the text-to-speech on or off. Now, the default is off. And then there's another option to reduce choices by 1 for a student in multiple choice. So these are modifications, again, that can be done both at the teacher and administrator level. And I'll show you later what that text-to-speech looks like. And then the last thing the administrator does is add users, which Scott has done. And then as new students come in, you can add individual users very, very quickly, or new teachers. And again, everything is driven by this grade level thing, that what grade level they're in. And then if you put in a teacher, everything is driven by this, whether you put them in as a teacher or a student. The other thing I wanted to show you on admin is, and again, at the admin level, they have the option to alter content. So I just went to 3rd grade math, Arizona Common Core Standards. Here is the learning path for that content. Scott, at his level, or whoever has admin privileges, has the ability to manipulate the content objectives up or down or eliminate. So this would be obviously with your content area team discussing order or appropriateness of specific objectives for grade level. And again, that can be done by each core area that is available to the school. Let's get into the teacher page. All right. Let's look at the Arizona content, and you will see here that you do have second grade content, and you do have kindergarten and first. Okay? It's just that you haven't put students in that grade area. That's why I thought it was 3rd to 8. But if you look at this, what's available to you, you have K through 8. So you have ACCS Common Core for 2 through 8, and then you're filling in K1 with the Common Core. So if I go, let's go to 3rd grade. This is what's available for 3rd grade right now. So I'm going to go and let's just take a look at the content of the learning path. And here you go. This is 3rd grade, Arizona Standards Mastery. And so let's just look at the learning path. Starts with a pre-test, and then there's a diagnostic test. And again, this would be available to the student if you don't block it from the student. They can go in here and see this same content that you can and work on it. So they could go in and work on any of these pieces if they wanted to. That's why leading instruction with assignments is generally better, and when we get into adding assignments, I'll show you how to block them from going over here and working outside the content area that you've assigned to them. And then I'll also later show you how to create your own diagnostic test if you want for a topic area. And I've had questions asking, well, do they have to do this part if I give them the course? And the thing is, no, you can actually assign everything in this content area and check everything and just not check these two, and they wouldn't get the diagnostic or the pretest. The pretest is predominantly designed to introduce the student to the interface, how to use the content, how to manage the objectives and the software. The diagnostic test is the one that actually a 30-question test that then gives the system a diagnostic as to which of these they should hit. If I look to the left, the first thing I'm going to see is the topic objective. If I click on that, it immediately takes me into the assessment, and I can go right in and practice the assessment as a teacher if I want to, or any other person that wants to review the content. Practice mode just takes the students straight into the questions. Are you guys using clickers, classroom response at all?
Not really.
Okay. And that, if you ever move to that, just to let you know, then our support people can help you with integrating that with this content. The third option is printable worksheets, which allows you to go in and see the questions and content in paper form or on the web. So this could be used in front of the room, or printed and used individually, or as a class, or as homework, or homebound student, or maybe a disciplined student that needs to work from home for a while. All these different options that this could be used for. I can print it, I can hide the multiple choice, I can hide the answer list, and I can open it in Word. And that is available for each objective. And then last, you've got the game mode. Again, if I click game mode, it shows the different levels of games: beginner, premium, challenging. And this is where you might go in and kind of look at the different ones and see what they are, maybe even practice them. But one of the major changes they made it with the game mode earlier, well, in August, was now even if you give them access to the game mode and the student chooses game mode to do the assessment, to do the lesson, when they go to the question and they get it right, it's still going to give them the option to do game mode or not. And the reason that was done is because a student might say, I'm going to play game for, I want to play the game, and then after question 4, they get bored with the game. So I said, you know what, I'm bored with this game, I just want to finish the assessment. It doesn't make them continue to go through and play the game. They can just go ahead and answer the questions, which I thought was a great change, because even myself, when I was practicing, I'm going, do I got to do this 4 more times? And so, and it, particularly for older students, it can be that way. So those are the 4 major ways to do practice and instruction. You go back to my learning path. Right next to the title of the objective is the lesson. If I click and open that, it takes me into the lesson. And it even has a movie here for the student to give them a visual reinforcement of the lesson. Now, you probably won't be able to hear the audio, but this is just an example of one of the student lessons that's available to them. And so that's available for the student, again, as a reinforcement for this objective. Right next to that are flashcards, and you'll notice most of them have flashcards. So let's look at the flashcards, and later on I'm going to show you how to make flashcards, where you can even make your own flashcards under custom material. So they're printable. So these could be used as, again, to take home. They could be used in small group, one-to-one instruction. They could be used on overhead for students for the class. Then you also have the interactive. Right click here, open the link, do this, interactive. So now the student can go in and actually practice electronically and see so those are your flashcards that are available to most of the lessons are available. You'll notice these green apples. There's not a lot of them in this course area, but those are your teacher resources. The student sees the same interface right here, this learning path interface, as the teacher does, except these apples. So they don't see this part of the interface, only the teacher. If I open that, it brings up teacher resources. Tells me what this is about. Provides an instruction video, and understanding that the instruction video is for teachers to get reinforcement on a possible way to present this particular lesson. I'll go ahead and play it again. You probably won't hear it, but at least you can see kind of how it flows. And you'll notice that most of them are like, what I've found that most of them are like 2 to 3 minutes long, and that's it. So that's your videos that are available in most cases. And lesson plans are also available, a whole array of resources and lesson plans just for this one particular content area, addition and subtraction. So here's a video lesson plan, here's a pre-assessment pictures, place value mat, all these different things that are available just for this particular lesson. And generally, let's take a look at this one real quick. Take a look, just see what it looks like for you. Let me pull it over because I'm on 2 screens and opened on the wrong one. Give me a second, and here we go. And this is a lesson plan for addition. Already laid out for you. Talks to learning styles, talks about whole class instruction. Pretty extensive. Talks about modifications for an advanced learner. Talks about modifications for a struggling learner. All embedded in this lesson plan. Again, printable and all part of the package. Sometimes there are additional resources, and what I have found is if there are additional resources, they tend to be the project-based activities. The rest of it is basically the data, the results for the student, the number of items that the student took, what the benchmark grade is. So this is the target, this would be their score. And to the far left, this is the standards. So this is the individual standard for this objective. And to the far right, upper right, is the entire learning path standard for this content area. All available, again, to you. And again, printable. Okay? And hang on, I just lost myself. Hang on, I hit the wrong X. That happens. Let's go here. Takes 1 second. All right. Now you get to see how easy it is. All right. This is also why I keep the admin login around. 824. Got that, and let's see here. SI24. Come on, you getting me? Hang on 1 second. Sorry about this. Let me get it. Get the information here really quick. Have it right here. I thought I had it written down correctly, but that's how it goes sometimes. They can be a little complicated at the admin level. All right, here we go. Copy, bring that in, and let me just take it right out of the account here. Why are you giving me trouble? SI 8124090 W842824. Come on. All right. Whew. I was wondering. Thought maybe we had some issues there going. All right. So we went through, looked at the content for 3rd grade. Make sure we got everything covered, and it looks like we have. I showed you the objective math for standards. So let's get into the class manager. This is where we actually manipulate the content to create classes and then make assignments, okay? Now you'll see that there are some classes created. And the thing that this tells me as soon as I look at it, there's nothing under this class page, so none of these are currently active. So it's maybe just test setups or things like that. So right now it would tell me that there's probably nothing in these classes right now. I can go in and look at them, and under this pencil, and I can click edit and see what's in here, and I will see that this has been set up for 36 students, and this is the name of the course. But if I go to class page and assignments, there have been no assignments created for this particular class. And so that's what we're going to go in and do right now, is show how to do that.
And
so,
David, that, would you be able to assign the teacher? Because I saw that I was the class owner. I set these up for the benchmark assessments.
Right, and so you're the owner of that now, and so you would have you own it. So you have to. If you go in there, there's no way really to share that class with another teacher right now.
So how do I change the owner to the 6th grade teacher?
He or she would have to create the class.
Okay.
Which is not a big deal because you haven't gone that far that it's really that labor intensive.
Right.
But whoever is the owner would own that class. So if I go up here to all classes, these are all the different possible owners, obviously, which would be teachers. Okay.
So I think this is a pretty critical thing. Could you go to one of our teachers, say, we'll do Barb Robles, to find out how she is the 6th grade owner of the class?
Sure. And she is right now is not an owner of any classes.
So how do I give her that ownership of the one that
she gets ownership by creating it herself.
Gotcha.
So when she goes into her class manager, so what Barb is going to do is add new class, probably what you did. Now one of the things that can be done, you said it's 6th grade, right?
Yes.
So these two should be hers, is what you're saying?
Yes.
So what I can do is this. I can go to class properties, and I can quickly copy that, and you could quickly go in and just go. She can see that. So if she goes to the teacher page and goes to class manager, and she goes to all classes, she can see those classes. So she can very quickly go in and take that. Like this was it right here. I could go in and just copy your title, okay, very quickly. Save time. Now I can go to my class manager and add a new class, and she just pastes it in.
She couldn't switch that class owner from my name to her name?
No.
That drop down?
Okay.
All right. Okay.
No. And because what will happen there is really what it's all driven by is the data. Is the data being attached to a specific person, and it's not set up to be able to cross over. It's like I get questions too, can I add more than one teacher to a class? No. So this is what I would do. I would just go in and copy that if that's what you want to do, and paste it in. And I do like the conventions you've used. I think they're great with a small school right here. Because that's very important. I think the conventions not only being clear and dated, but also consistent throughout your school, so that they all look the same. I think that's important, and they're not always going to be the same, because you might create special pockets of classes for a group of students. Because understanding, when you assign students to classes, I can assign across grades. I don't have to just assign from, in her case, I don't have to just assign 6th grade.
So,
go ahead.
An important question that we have here, since we have half the staff sitting in here are kind of related service providers in ELL, Taiwan,
exactly.
Gifted. They create their own classes, and then they select the students out of the 6th grade to include in their class?
Or whatever class they want to select from. Let's say they've got, let's say you've got a resource class, which isn't done a lot anymore, but let's say you've got pull-out for resource or ELL, and they have a group of students they work with. They could create a specific class just for that group, and then select those students from anywhere in the student population to be in that class.
Now, is there any conflict when they, say the classroom teacher assigns a certain lesson or lessons to the student, and then the Title I staff assign other lessons? Is there a conflict in what the student's going to do, or
no? Because
are they just going to see 2 different classes?
They'll see 2 different classes.
Perfect.
Yeah. In fact, let me get back in here where I was here real quick, because I had my. Of course, I probably. I probably timed out anyway. It does time out after a second, but let me look at this real quick.
So the only way they could duplicate lessons is if the teachers assign to the two different classes the same material.
That's correct. So here I just logged in as a student. I logged in as Ernie, and here shows how the classes are broken down. So I made a math class and I made a language arts class. So let's say there was a ELL class, that would just show up in the row right with the rest of these.
Perfect.
Okay. But you know what, Scott? I'll check on that to make sure that I'm right. As far as I know, there is no way, but I'll verify that there is no way to transfer a class, okay? Because I don't, you know how technology is, it's constantly evolving. So, and again, there's absolutely no way anyone can know everything about software. So that's something I'll ask to make sure that that hasn't been something that has been changed. Now, I don't want to go in and do this for her. I'm going to go ahead and do a sample for me so that you can see the process. All I would do is add a new class, very simply. I can put Dr. E, grade 3, math, AZ, math, AZC, whatever you want to do. Now, because I'm creating this in your account, you're going to be the owner of it. Here, though, is where, now here's what I think you're asking. Let's go and try this and see if this is possible. Let's do a little experiment here because we might be able to see what you were talking about. Here we have class owner. Let's try this. Well, this is where we can do it right here. See, this is, your question just drove something new for me. And so we wanted to transfer this to whom? Robles? Okay, let's try it. See what happens here. Now it shows her as the owner because this is something that hasn't been asked before and I haven't run into. So this is kind of nice. It's a new tool that we've come up with here, and this might be something new too since the last rollout. Now if I go to class manager, it's gone. So that's how you do it, Scott. Great question. Great question. So all you would do, Scott, is open up the class, go to class properties, and change this to whoever you want to have ownership of that.
Great.
So if I go to class manager, now they're gone. So that's it. Would you like these transferred to, or you just want to go in and do those?
Yeah, I can go. Yeah, I can do that at a later time.
Okay, great. Well, that was a great question. Thank you for that. It's amazing how every few sessions I always learn something new because people come up with great questions. That's an awesome one. All right, let's go back to class manager, and let's go ahead and create our new class. Okay, so that's me. I'm going to do. Now, the first thing you'll see is override preferences. If that bottom checkbox on the admin, there was two of them. There was one at the top about student difficulty, and then there was another one at the bottom about school preferences. If Scott had that one checked and no, then this would also be blacked out for the teacher. But it is marked yes, so the teacher does have the ability to modify preferences for this class that we're creating, and that's game mode, timer, a scratch pad, highlighters, and building block topics. And building block topics are nothing more than if a student doesn't assess at the prescribed benchmark, the system assigns a building block assignment to help bring them up to level to pass the assessment. And I'll show you an example of that right here. This is an example of a building block assignment. Ernie went in, took money, got a 40%. It immediately assigned him a building block assignment to help bring him up to level. If I click this, now I have it open game to what I want to do, and this will show you all the options for the games. So for this class, I say yes, no, no during school hours, and then any level of percentage that I want to drive that game. So maybe for SLD kid or something, maybe you want to give them 60 and allow that group, or even whatever group, maybe you want to be able to play the game at 60%. So you can modify that. The timer, that's a question. Some kids get kind of tense when they see a timer. Others don't care. Maybe you've got some students you want to create a class for that for some reason they are going to be doing a timed test, so you want them to practice with a timer. So there is all kinds of reasons why you might want or not want the timer on. The scratch pad, I'm going to go in here and show you the scratch pad, and I'm going to show you the tools from a student perspective. If I go in and look at Ernie's class here, I'm going to go into language arts here, and I'm going to click on reading standards. And this is the assignment that was given to Ernie in reading standards. And you'll see he's done 2 assignments. If I click on phonics, it takes me straight in to the 4 areas we looked at earlier, the 4 ways that the student can do this assignment. If I click practice mode and next, to my left brings up my toolbar. This is all available to the student based on the preferences you allow. So in this case, the student can increase, decrease text, which is part of the default. Here is the reader. So if I highlight this and highlight what I wanted to read and click play, it will read it. The blue is what it's pronouncing. The yellow is the sentence that it's working on. So that's the reader, and it's available based on that student preference toggle that I showed you earlier. There's also the scratch pad, which we saw right here. If I click scratch pad, here you go. So the student has this scratch pad available to them. And it's even printable if the student has the ability to print from their station. So that then is also available to the student. And then you've got all these various highlighters that are available for the student as well that they use. And so you decide as the teacher what do you want to give this student. I'm going to leave the preferences off for now, and then I'm going to go down and pick my 3rd grade students since I'm doing 3rd grade. There are 39 in there. And so because of 39, I'm assuming there's more than one class, I hope. That'd be a big one. And so the teacher now can go in and pick the particular students for this particular class. So this might be grade 3 math, section 2, really doesn't matter, and you might click the students then that you want out of this 3rd grade to be in section 2, and then you would just click save. So now I've gone in and I've got my class name, I've done no preferences, I've got my students assigned. Now I can go to my assignments. Okay.
Once we start building these classes, let's say you make a mistake, how easy is it? Once there's data, can you delete them or not?
Well, you can go in and change any part of the class or the assignments at any time.
All right, and what's kind of the best use? Let's say, like maybe you want to do it per chapter, per unit, and create a class that way, or how is the classes commonly used?
Well, that's what we're going to get into right now. I'm going to show you the different options that you can look at. The first thing I want to show you is that the class page is automatically not activated. So that goes back to the beginning that I did where it showed that there was nothing under class and there was nothing there, meaning that they weren't active. I could tell that. If I try to activate this page, it's not even going to let me activate the page because I have not given the class any assignments. So you must give the class some work before you can activate the class page. So let's go into what you were asking. There are 3 different types of assignment. So let's start with a practice and instruction assignment. I'm going to click Create an Assignment. What I like to do, and I think is more efficient, is rather than deciding my assignment title here, I go into the assignment options and I'm going to pick the content area that I want to create the assignment from. So I picked 3rd grade math, and it immediately pulls up the learning path again for this particular content area. Now back to your question. You can create a unit. So in other words, I could do all operations in algebraic thinking for a student or a class, or I could just pick 3. And so really, you can choose specifically what you want to assign down to just an objective if that's what you decide you want to do. In this case, I'm going to go ahead and take operations and algebraic thinking. I'm just going to take the unit. And I'm going to copy that, and then I'm going to go back and paste it into my preferences as my title, because I want the title to be exactly the same as the learning path. So I just steal it basically from the learning path, the exact title, and I paste it into my assignment title. Now I'm deciding when I want it assigned, when I want it due, what time, and do I want it active now. So let's go in and let's say that's a pretty big unit. Let's say we're going to give them to the 17th to do that unit. And we want it active now. This is a critical tool because, well, I used to work in a 9-week block system. So what that meant is I had new students every quarter, or you might have new students every semester. You might have reasons why you would want to create assignment in advance and then not activate it. So you could go in. So really what drives whether the student gets the assignment is the dates and then whether you activate it or not. No matter what dates are in here, if you don't activate it, the student will not see it. Okay?
We just kind of go back to some 9-week blocks and say, the kid logs in, he's got 10 classes that we've created. Can we hide some from him later that maybe they're done with, so they don't have all these lists of classes for them?
Right. You would just go in and take him out of those classes.
And the data still stays there then?
Yeah, the data stays there. Yeah. Yeah, you would just take him out of those classes, particularly because, yeah, I understand where you're going. It's pretty overwhelming to see that many things on your dashboard. So I've chosen to do this linked on this assignment, activate it. You can add any instructions you want right here for the student. Then you can decide on a calculator. And then again, you have the option for this specific assignment. You had it for the class. Now you have it for this assignment, the override school preferences again. So I've created now my assignment name, the terms that I want to deal with in, the dates, the other parameters that I want to allow the students. I now can go to next assignment options, which takes me right where I was the first place. It shows that I went in and chose these 7 topics under operations and algebraic thinking. I now have the option to go in and modify. Let's say maybe, you know what, maybe I didn't hit this one as well as I wanted to. Maybe I want to hit that before I assign it. So you can always go back and edit, take out. If you want to see the lesson, particular lesson for each objective, it's right here. If you want to see the questions that the student could get, it's right here for this assessment. And again, printable, multiple choice, open the Word, all the options again. And again, you have the standard there as well for each one that you're going to assign. Then under this row, you'll see constructed response questions. And you'll notice that all of them in this content are toggled to no. If I click that, it assigns the constructed response. and that means the student sees that question as part of the assessment or the assignment, and then the teacher would be prompted then to grade that work, and understanding that the student's percentage on the objective would not be accurate, 100% accurate, until the constructed response is graded. If I click this magnifying glass, I can actually see the constructed response. So they print it, Word, I can see the rubric for this constructed response. So this could be used again individually, could be printed, could be used in front of the room, or assigned to a class or an individual student.
So David, I have a question for you. How do we use our benchmarking results to assign the lessons and the particular areas the students have a need in?
Well, the benchmarking results should show you the areas of deficiency. Is that what you should have? But let's take a look here. These are the benchmarks you guys have administered.
Yeah.
Okay. So if I go, let's see here, if I go to reports. Where are we at? Where's my benchmarking? So many reports. There it is.
I see all the reporting like I can go and read all the results fairly easily, but is there any way to populate the areas of need for the student within the lesson, or does it all have to be done manually by the teacher? Yeah,
it all has to be driven by teacher assignment.
Okay, all right.
So yeah, so I think I get where you're going now and what you're asking.
Because is there a test? Is there a test that they would take that would populate a list of lessons? I mean, maybe it's not the benchmark assessment that we're doing.
Okay, so let's do this. Let's do this on what you're saying. Let's go to our class that we created, and I'm going to go ahead, instead of finishing that assignment, which would be nothing more than just clicking yes, because once I did that, if I go in, let me go in just real quick and finish this assignment, and then I'll show you under Test Builder how to possibly do what you're looking to do. Hang on one second. Let me do this. Just build something here real quick. Next assignment options. Let's go to our third grade. Go ahead and just click it and get an objective. I'm going to just go ahead and finish creating this assignment. My students are already checked, so I'm just going to leave them, and that quickly, you saw how quickly I went through and I created that assignment. Now I can activate my class page because I've created an assignment. And this here, when this is checked, that means that when the student logs in, the first thing they see are their, I'm going to go in here and show you again. I'm going to end the study session here, click yes, see the results. I'm going to return to main, and if I go to my classes, this is what the student will see if this is checked yes. They immediately log in and they see their classes. That's what they see. Then this is the one here, block other material, is the one where if you check this yes, they can only see the content at the level assigned in this assignment and would not be able to manipulate or maneuver through this menu of content while they're working on this assignment. Let's go into what you're asking, and we'll get back to writing if we have time. And I'm going to go in here and
I think our biggest thing is that we want to link the assessment to the lesson.
Well, okay, so here's what we're going to do. I'm going to go to my class, and I'm going to go add an assignment. And what I would use to do what you're asking is Test Builder, is what I would do. And so let's say we want to do grade 7. Let's go grade 3 math. All right, let's say we want to do grade 3 math and any information. But let's hit next questions, and I'm going to pick the program. So let's say we're working on grade 3 math, Arizona Common Core. Okay, so here's your learning path, all right? This is what I would do to get what you want, is I would go through and I would create my own diagnostic test for this content. And this allows you to do it right here. Is if I go to diagnostic test and I click on the Lego, basically, it opens up the question bank. This is where I can now assign questions and create my own diagnostic for this particular content area. If I open this up, I now have a question bank that I can draw from. Not only do I, let's see how many are in here. If I go to the bottom, I have 30 total questions in this bank, but I also have instances I can pull. So let's say I like this question, I can do 2 of them. Or if I like the clock question, add it. And generally I would say a minimum of 10 questions is what I would add. But the ones that have drop downs is where you can change occurrences, so increase the number of questions. Here's where you can add as many as 10 of this type of question. Or say you like this one, I go in and do 3. And let's.
So they'd have the same choices for like an English test.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. So you would go in and select the exam, the diagnostic that you want, and you could do this as many times as you want, not only to drive lessons, in other words, not only to drive assignments, but also you could really create kind of your own benchmarks over the year with this. So you'd have also this type of benchmark data to show a diagnostic for this content area, say over 3 occurrences during the year. So I'm going to go and save these selections, and it shows me, well, what I did. Let me go back in here and open this up. I'm going to edit this because what happens is I get in here and I forget to go add. So I do that, and then I do this. So if you don't actually click add, then it's never going to give you the question. So I'm going to add that. And let's add these and add that. All right. So now I can go save selections, and it shows that I have 14 questions that I've shown. Understanding you probably have the ability in that diagnostic to pick as many as 50 questions if you wanted to get that big. And now that diagnostic can be assigned just like the other assignment was. When do you want it assigned? Any instructions? Do you want them to have a calculator? Do you want them to have any preferences? And you pick your students, and let's say you want all your 3rd grade students to have that diagnostic. All you would do is save and exit, and there it is. So now you have a diagnostic exam that you created for all your 3rd graders.
So the students that score on that diagnostic test and are weak in certain areas, then with number sense or something like that, they would be assigned a list automatically of assignments and lessons.
Right.
Those.
No, they would not automatically be assigned. That's the thing, is then from that diagnostic, the teacher then would then choose what they want to assign.
Okay.
So if I go in
benchmark assessment, since we already have that data, we shouldn't test the kids over and over again if we're going to get the same information. Because
the thing about this, the diagnostic for this particular product or this program is to drive assignment instruction within the content areas. So to identify the areas that the assignments that need to be created in. So if I click though the
benchmark assessment should give us that information as well.
Right, exactly. So you have basically it's almost like you're developing triangulation in a way where you have 2 to 3 different factors that are driving what you're doing. If I click on this build a test results, here's the results. So the diagnostic, percentage, correct, incorrect. And then what will happen if the student had taken it, I would be able to click on this student and disaggregate further, but nobody's taken it, so there's nowhere to go here. If there were responses here, you would be able to not only click on the student, but click on these to see the particular questions and the parts of the data, or downloaded in Adobe.
Okay. So, David, we're pretty familiar with that information. We have about 25 minutes left, and I want to make sure that I'm not asking all the questions that the teachers may have.
Right.
So I'm going to ask teachers to write down on these sticky notes I'm going to pass around maybe one question that they'd like to ask before the end of this meeting.
Sounds
and
good.
Maybe 15 we can get into that. I have a particular question from a group of 3rd, 4th, 5th grade teachers that say their students took the ELA benchmark assessment, but it's not showing in our benchmarking tab when you click on that.
And when did they take it?
Last week.
Okay, so go here.
So we see the math, but we don't see the ELA.
Yeah, I'm not seeing it. I'm not seeing it either. So I don't even see a benchmark in here for ELA in your benchmarks.
So they said they took it last week, and it worked for us for math, and our 6th and 7th and 8th grade seemed to populate.
Which class, which student took it?
Let's do 5th grade, Tana Rush.
Fifth grade. Okay, let's take a look here. Let me go to see what we got here. Let's see here. Because what I was wondering, if I could go in as the student and take a look, because it's interesting that it's not showing it all here, because it's showing here these were all created and expired. Like this one here was 8/19 to 8/27. It's not showing. So let me look at this executive summary report. Now if I look here, it's showing 3rd grade ELA. Okay, so let's scroll down. Let me look at Park.
So we should like 5th grade ELA.
Well, it was ELA benchmark, right?
Well, so here's the confusing part. I think since we have 2 administrators here working in this, I almost feel like they took an ELA diagnostic assessment. Is there a way to check that? I don't feel like they took.
Well, the thing is, no matter what, there would have to be in a class, and you said it was 5th grade?
Yep.
Yeah, and there's not even a 5th grade class created.
Well, these are my classes. Can you
okay,
look
so
under,
it would be under who?
Tana Rush.
Okay, let's take a look. And I've got 2. This one?
She just made the Mrs. Tana Rush, so it would be the Rush 2014-15 one.
And there's no classes under that name.
Can you try 4th grade Lorelei Drotzman?
Sure, sure.
I think what may have happened is that they went in, they took an assessment, but if it's not a diagnostic test, then it was something.
Okay, now we're in. So under this one, I do see practice assignments. I see one that's reading comprehension, and I see one that's place value. If I go into here and I look and I open it up, well, first off, let's open it up here and see if there's any data. And there is no data. Okay. So let's look at the pencil and see what is in here, okay? And so if I go in, I can see the dates, and this shows the assigned date is today.
So she just created this one. We're looking for an assessment that they took like last week in ELA.
There's results in the place value.
She's saying there's results in the place value on.
Oh, okay. Let's take a look. All right. This one?
Drotzman.
All right. So this one. All right. Let's take a look. Oh, yes, there are results here. So here's an example of the results here that were taken. And it's showing here what was assessed, place value, expanded notation, compare numbers. Okay. Items are listed here. So if I click that, it breaks it down right here. So this is where I would use that to then drive, okay, so what do I need to do? Let me close some of these tabs out. So for instance, this would be a quick understand that this student may need the assignment in place value or more work in that area based on whatever was given. What I want to do though is look at again, the assignment itself. So if I go to assignment options, this shows what was given in this assignment. It was this unit on reading standards for literature and no constructive response. So it wasn't a diagnostic, because that would be here. So it was these items here that were assigned to those particular students, which in this case was this group right here, that would have been assigned that particular assignment.
Okay, I think we figured out that they took the diagnostic test rather than the benchmark test.
Okay.
So that's probably the case.
Okay.
So
okay.
that's fine. We'll,
and so, yeah, so the benchmark, yeah, the key difference, the one key difference between the benchmark and a diagnostic is, or an assignment, is the assignment does not go away at the end of the assigned term. So if you say it's got to be due by September 10th, and until you inactivate that assignment for the student or the class, it's going to stay on the student's page. Whereas a benchmark, if you say the benchmark window is till September 10th, after September 10th, it's going to disappear from the student's dashboard. So that's the biggest difference between the two types of assessments.
okay, that's helpful. So
Okay.
I think that might be the case. I'll work with the other administrator to kind of determine what they took and what we need to assign them. So I think we're at that point where, you know, the teachers understand how to create their classes and assign lessons, which was our primary goal. And we have a few questions that are coming in. So David, was there anything else that you wanted to kind of wrap up to show us before we ask you questions?
Well, we're okay on writing assignments. That I would have generally covered. The other thing too is this class schedule, class notes, class links. This is where you can add information for your students on the class page, and I'll go here and kind of show you what that looks like for this student. So right here, if I go to the student's classes and click on a class, the information shows up right here. So you can put, like, there's a quiz, you can put like welcome to my class, and then the class links part is where you can actually bring links and add them to the classes and assignments to support the student. And you can even go into Teacher Toolkit and bring up, let's say, a Khan video, and you could actually take that Khan video link and paste it into that link page for your class if you wanted to support a particular objective. So that would be another thing I would show. The other thing I think that's important to know is that as teachers, you can remove lower scores. So, for instance, this is an assignment where the student got a 46 that we were looking at, and this is Guadalupe. And so because it's a 46, let's say the student scored a 20, well, and the benchmark is 70%. Because it's cumulative, it may take the student a lot of attempts to get to that 70. So, or there may be a reason why the student didn't finish the assessment, internet, left the room, whatever. You can go here to view sessions, check a box, any of these boxes here, like for instance this 20. You can check this and then remove that checked session, which helps to give the student a better chance to get to that 70% without having to do 15 takes. Okay, so those are some things that I think are important to know. Yeah, we're down to about 15 minutes, 17 minutes. Go ahead, let's go for your questions, and I'll see if I can field them for you, okay?
Terrific, okay. So like I said, in here we have quite a few service providers from other areas, and special ed being one, and advanced placement being another. That's asking essentially the same thing. So how will they access the students in the classroom groups to support the teachers and the students? The inclusion special ed teacher might not create a whole class, you know, because she's working with the curriculum and the content that classroom teacher is working with. So really they wouldn't be creating 2 different classes. She wants to work within that one teacher's course. Is there a way to just have the student log in and that special ed teacher works with the student on that particular assignment? Is that
sure? Yeah, absolutely. I mean, they can work with them one. There's a couple of ways that they could do it. Is even when the student logs in, if and you've got the support there, the student can still, if this isn't toggled, the student still has access to all this other content. So let's say it's even something that they're not working on a particular assignment, and let's say they want to work on something different, the student can always move back over here and pick another objective to work on with the support person at all times. So the assignments are there, that's what they've been given, but the content is also available for anybody that wants to work with the student or the student themselves. And let's say, oh, you know, instead of creating a whole assignment, why don't you work with them on multiplication and division facts? And all they got to do is go over to the 3rd grade, to the content, bring it up, and there it is. So they can always
won't have access to that class, basically, right?
Yes, absolutely. If they're assigned as a teacher, they will. So they have access to all this content.
You know, what I'm concerned about is, like, okay, they take the diagnostic, and then the teacher in the classroom knows where they need that extra help. But as a special need teacher, and I coming in, while she's teaching a regular class, is there some way that I can access that diagnostic to see where that kid needs that extra support so that we can target more of those areas?
Let me look here. You would have to go, again, you're crossing teachers here again. So if I go in here and I pick an area, if I go to my report, you should be able to go to the same place I did. What they could do is also, well, again, what we were showing earlier, the only way to do that, if it's the same assessment, they would have to share ownership of that with you so that you could see that. But again, under reports, you should be able to see that as well. If I go to school reports and I go to individual student report, I should be able to pick up a student, and I'll use one of mine because I have data on somebody. Let me go to my page, and I'm going to go back to, let's see here. I'm going to go into where my stuff is so that I can show you what I would do here. Let's see. 1 second. All right, hang on 1 second. Taking a long way here. Okay. If I have all these things pre-programmed to just go in, okay. So I'm in as me. If I go to my school reports and I go to individual student report and I go to grade 3 and I go to Ernie, to the student, all I'm doing is picking students. It's not based on a class now. It's not based on an assignment. It's basically picked on a student within a certain grade level and certain content area. I now can click this and I can view exactly what you're asking, this diagnostic test.
So every teacher will have that ability to view, or just the grade levels that I've assigned them as the administrator?
No, not as a teacher. So right now, if they go in, they should be able to go to reports, classroom, school reports, individual student report. They should be able to pick a student in their grade area. I'll pick Diego here, and I'll pick.
So they have to be assigned to that grade level to see that.
That's the key. That's where the key is the grade level drives everything, so that you then go in there. Because as soon as I click grade 4, then it brings up all grade 4 students.
Perfect. Okay.
And then from there, you can see those reports off of your individual student report, which then shows you those results.
Perfect. Okay. That's the answer we're looking for.
Great.
Perfect.
Great. I got lucky on one.
I'm going to stump you a little bit on this one. So here's from our gifted teacher. I have a small accelerated group of math students from 6th grade. I've created a class and some assignments. This won't conflict with the gen ed teacher, correct?
No, because you're driving the assignments particularly to that group for their needs. So, for instance, I was at a school the other day, a high school, and they had a class that was designed for nothing but AP prep. ACT prep. They created a separate class specifically just for that group for ACT prep. And so you can do the same thing. You can create it and name that class anything you want to drive. So the gifted class to me would be a separate class with separate assignments that are specifically driven for that group to get to where you're trying to get with them. And you can, again, once you get that class created with that gifted group, you can draw from any of these content areas to support that group. And if it's across grade levels, you can even draw across grade levels if you want to.
Perfect. And we have a couple more questions here. So is there a practice mode in order to demonstrate the mechanics of the test to a whole class?
What I would do in that situation is I would go into the content itself. Let's go into 3rd grade again. And I would bring up the learning path, and I would go right into the pretest right here, and I would demonstrate it.
So when you're logged in as a teacher, you go into the practice.
Right. I would just go straight into the content that is available. I would pick the area you want to practice in. I would click that pretest, which is designed to kind of familiarize the student with the different media that's available for the objectives. I would click that up in front of the students, and I would, just like similar to what I did with you earlier, I would just take them right through this and show them the different media to take this assessment and how it works.
Perfect.
That's what I would do. And in fact, one of the things I've suggested to them is kind of an orientation not a heavy one, but kind of an orientation. I know the pretest is kind of designed for that, but I always believe in nothing wrong with, especially for a new student, having a small orientation course.
Certainly. Great. Now here's a very lesson-specific question. If a student struggles to raise the percentage of a practice lesson, will changing the level of difficulty help this matter?
Yes. So if I go in, again, if I go to my teacher page and I go to adjust student difficulty, and let's say I've got the student and they're struggling in whatever area, I'll just keep it in students in grade 3, and I click next, then I can go here to Jose and I can pick that particular subject area if I want just for that student, and then I can reduce it to -6% of the benchmark if I want to. The other thing, remembering that if I go into, let's go back to my teacher page, and when I create an assignment, I'm going to go to classes, I'm going to go to classes again. Let's go to my class, and I'm going to go in here to this orders and operation, algebraic thinking I created. I'm going to go here and open this up, and I'm going to go to next assignment options. Okay. This is where I would go in, and this then, based on your choice for that student, this then would change. This 70% would change to -6 or plus based on what you chose to do for the students. And so, and the thing is too, chances are that you may go in and decide, well, I want, if the student is SLD in math, then maybe that's just a given that you're going to try that after, of course, you do the diagnostic first to kind of see that. I've never been one to assume a student can't work at level just because they have an IEP. I've never done that. And so first I would want to see the result that they do need that modification. And then once you go into modify, adjust student difficulty, then you can choose to make that higher or lower, depending on the students if you want. Let me go back here again.
Thank you.
That's great.
I mean, yeah, it's pretty simple. One of the things I really like about this thing is it really has a very small learning curve. I really do like that part about this program.
That's great. And I've played around with the teacher toolkit. It looks like there's a bunch of resources in there for the teacher. Yeah. In terms of lessons and videos.
This is also very important too. It's called the custom material. So I'm going to go to my teacher, and I'm going to open up custom material, and I'm going to show you real quick. We got a few minutes. I'm going to, unless there's another question that's really important. This is kind of neat stuff here. This custom material, and I'll just put in I don't know. Let's put in Arizona history real quick, and I'm just going to make this, let's make it simple like grade 3. I can now choose here my passing goal, questions, how many I want, my percentage, and then I want flashcards with this lesson too. So I'm going to add flashcards, and then you have all these other options that are available for this custom material. I click save, and it's going to say, yep, you're saved. Now you have the ability to add attachments, add a URL, in this case, and then after you add any support you want for this particular lesson, you can go to write questions. So let's say I want to do a history. I'm going to go, let's see, entered the union, and call it, and that's it. And then, so if I do that, entered the union, I'm going to change it to only 3 responses, and I'm going to type in my correct answer. 1912. Click save, then I can click in another answer, 1900, just pick it, and then pick another answer, 1899, and save that, and go down here, and here's where I can add more attention, but I'm just going to go in and save this just for time, and it brought me right to another question, so I'm going to ask another one, and I'm going to put like nickname, okay, and same thing. And then I'm going to go down here to my correct answer. Grand Canyon State, click save. Okay. So I can go in here. Oh, get rid of that. Oh, I got to do my other ones. Forgot about that. Let's see. Just make some up. See, right there, it caught me. It didn't even let me go because I didn't do the other responses. Let's do this. Sedona State. Why not? And let's save that. So I've brought in my responses. I click save. And now I'm going to go to my custom material, and there's what I created. Arizona history. It's right there. Now, the reason I did the 2 responses in conjunction with the correct one is now I can administer this assignment 2 ways. I can administer it as a regular practice assignment or printable worksheet. And there we go. And there you go. As soon as I click out, I end study session. Yep. And it's going to show me I did 2 and I got 100. So I got them all right. If I return to main and I go back here and I click on my flashcards, so that quick I created flashcards for this assignment as well. And the other thing, too, is that you can add copy and paste images into the flashcards to make them a little bit more decorative, you know, flash them up a little bit as the term says. So, and again, so this is a quick way. So I would really explore this custom material. I think it's good, and it's a good way for the teachers to add to their own content. And the other thing I would definitely explore, which I really like, is the writing assignments. I'm CTE Business and Marketing, and so even though that isn't even on this content, if I had this content available to me, I would use it for my class just for the writing assignments because it's an excellent tool.
Okay. Very good. I think you've answered all our questions that we have here this afternoon, and thanks for showing us how to set this up for us.
Okay, well, one of the things that was in the pre-session documents was this part, and again, I'll leave you with that, and I've got the list that was sent to me, so I've got the names so I can validate the attendance. So if you could, it just takes a couple of minutes before you leave or within the next day or so. If you can go to this website, finish a quick survey. All you need is the session number and my name. And the other thing too is, Mr. Keller, you have my contact information, and even though, like I said, they want want customers to use support, go to support. I feel particularly invested in the people I work with, the schools I work with, particularly here in Arizona. So you have my contact information. So if there's anything at all that comes up, don't hesitate to contact me, and I'll do my best to answer it or find out about it. And again, this is what I do, so I'm available if you need help.
Great. I might call you about regarding the 3rd, 4th, 5th grade assessment that they took, just to determine if it was the diagnostic tests and where those results are. So maybe we can use those. So I'll call you probably later about that.
Yeah, and then what I'll do is do that, and then what I'll do is I'll go in and do some research on it too, see if I can, now that I have an idea of what I'm looking for, and see if I can weasel it out of there and find out where it is.
Great. All right. I appreciate it. I'll direct the teachers to take this short survey, and we'll get you some feedback.
Well, I appreciate working with you, and again, if you need anything at all, have a great school year, and again, best of luck all. Take care.
Appreciate it. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.